Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, your home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. In today's video, we've got a special guest on to talk and learn all about Aduro Clean Technologies. This is a very innovative recycling focused company. We're going to be talking about some of the insights, details, and recent news in today's podcast. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, guys. Big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comments section below if you've heard of Aduro before or if you're currently holding shares. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Hey guys, that's right. Today's video, a very special guest. We've got Mariusz, another YouTuber. We've actually been in contact for quite some time on the channel to give us the details, talk all about Aduro Clean Technologies. So Mariusz, thanks so much for making the time. Great to see you.
Hey, I'm super happy to talk about Aduro to anybody that wants to listen, because I've been screaming from the top of the building since 2022.
Yeah, it's a really cool story, all about recycling, a big, massive problem for our generation. We're going to get into that in a sec, but before we do, since it's your first time on the channel, can you give us a quick introduction to yourself, how you got in the YouTube game, and then ultimately what led you to Aduro Clean Tech?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm 45 years old. I've been investing full time since I was 29. So I haven't had a normal job since I was 29 years old, and very passionate about the smaller companies, the micro cap companies where other people just don't want to play in. So I feel like I don't have much competition, and I've had my YouTube channel for quite some time, but I didn't really get serious about making content on YouTube, kind of like during COVID, which is similar to other people. You're stuck at home, you don't know what to do, and you just like, turn on the camera and you start talking. And when you look at the first videos that I made, it's embarrassing because I didn't know what I was doing. The camera was bad, and so that's how it started. But when it comes to Aduro Clean Technologies with a ticker symbol ADUR, it's a quite an interesting journey because you see, I used to suffer from what I call RP syndrome. Do you know what RP syndrome is?
I don't know.
Revenue and profitability syndrome. Okay.
Okay.
I just, there's so many investors out there that are just like in this box, okay? In this box that they will not look at companies that are not profitable today and don't have revenues today. And that creates a tremendous opportunity because you barely have any competition. So that's kind of like how when I had this syndrome, I didn't want to look at Aduro. This is, middle 2022, so 1,000% ago, 10x ago. And my friend told me about it, and well, at that time, he wasn't my friend. He told me about it, and I didn't want to look at it. Like, I have revenue and profitability syndrome, no revenues. I don't want to look at it. Don't tell me about it. I don't care what you say. I don't want to hear it. 4 weeks. For 4 weeks, I was screaming, no, 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 no. And he just kept sending me stuff, an article. Hey, look at this. Like, I thought I already told you. No, I have RP syndrome. I don't want to look at it. But then we had a conversation about a different company. We had a Zoom call, and I got to know him, and I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, he really knows his stuff. He goes really deep into these companies. If he likes Aduro Clean Technologies, I better treat my RP syndrome and look at it. And I looked at it. I went to Canada for the first time. Okay. I got searched by 7 officers and 3 dogs because this was my first time going to Canada. Okay. I thought they were going to put me in jail because I was traveling alone. So I went through all this hustle to see this company. And when I got there, they put me in this room with I kid you not, five double PhDs in chemistry, okay, explaining to me the chemistry and demonstrating to me this technology. I was just blown away what it can do. Blown away. And then the next thing I know, I put, $500,000 into it. I bought 1% of the company, and today it's $5 million, and I'm not even thinking about selling it.
Yeah, that's a great story. I watched a number of your videos on Aduro, and it's really interesting. Obviously, plastic recycling is a massive problem, but what I didn't realize until I watched your video is things even like a plastic bottle, they can have multiple different types of plastic, and it's really difficult to break this stuff apart. So I guess hence the professionals or the PhDs there. It's interesting you bring up COVID. That's when I got into the space as well. Like you say, just a lot of time. I'm from Canada, so I focused a lot on the Canadian small cap. So I'm sorry about the border patrol there, Mariusz. But I wanted to talk about this RP syndrome because this is something I've noticed a lot as well as Wall Street investment banks. There's certain type of companies or restrictions, limits on market cap, profitability, revenue. And a lot of the big banks really can't get involved in these stories too early. So it gives investors like us a real competitive advantage. We're more agile. We can move in and out of positions quicker. So you obviously saw the writing on the wall. You got involved with Aduro quite early in quite a big way. Can you talk to us a little bit about the company itself, what their mission is, their goal? Then we can get into some of their technology and their actual systems.
Well, I think for the people that are interested, there's just one thing that matters. Can their technology work and can it scale? That's it. Um, Today, the company has very little revenues, but this doesn't matter. If the technology works and it scales, this thing is going to be massive. And that's what you should focus on. So I will explain this technology, but first I will explain, the problem that we're facing in this world. So as you mentioned at the beginning, we have, plastic. We have different plastic types, something like this, or a tea bottle that has three different plastic types in a bottle. You have a cup, you have the label, and you have the bottle itself. And the world produces 400 million tons of plastic every year, and less than 10% of it is being recycled. I mean, many people don't even know it, that when you put plastic in a plastic recycling bin, it's not being recycled. It goes straight to the landfill. Only some of it gets recycled because there's really no technology that can do it. And as I said before, how can you recycle something that has three plastic types in one bottle? Okay, you think you're going to separate it? It's very difficult. It's very expensive, and also many plastics are contaminated. You might have, still juice in it, or you might have some ketchup in it. So that becomes problematic. There are no technologies really out there that can handle that, and therefore we recycle so little of it, and then it ends up in the landfill in the ocean. And if you look some studies, we have it. We found plastic particles in our bodies. Okay, even there's plastic particles in our penises. Okay, it's a big deal. Okay, it's a big deal. So when you have a massive problem like this, and I'm talking $1 trillion problem, if you find a solution, if you get involved with a company that has a solution, you can make a ton and ton of money. Okay. And so Aduro kind of stumbled across this solution by mistake because they've been working, I think they were founded in 2011, something like that. And they were working in Canada, because it is a Canadian company, but now it's duly traded on NASDAQ too. But they were working to upgrade bitumen. And bitumen is this heavy oil that it's tough, and it's very difficult to send it through pipelines. So they were working on upgrading bitumen so that it can that the industry doesn't have to use as much diluent, because diluent is added to bitumen in order to make it flow through pipelines. And so by working on bitumen, they realized that that the same technology can be applied to plastic. Um, and so they pivoted. I mean, they still are working on the bitumen. It's still one of the verticals, but now the sexy vertical, or where the resources are going, is into plastic recycling. So the way their technology works, and I'm going to explain it like to a fifth grader, because the purpose of me talking about is not to make you go and buy the stock, not to sell you on this technology, is to, hey, listen to it and then go out and do your own work. So I'm going to explain it in very basic terms. So if, let's say, we have a plastic bottle that has, three different, plastic types. And this is the recycling facility. You put this plastic bottle through the recycling facility, and different inside this facility, there's different reactors, different boxes. So each box is designed to recycle or break down different plastic types into the ingredients that the plastic was made from. So box number one can maybe recycle this, and then the plastic bottle continues to move through the system. The next box with different parameters might break down the bottle itself, and then the third one might break down the label. So what this does is this eliminates significantly pre-sorting, because the system itself is self-sorting through as the plastic moves through different parameters. And then at the end of the day, what is being produced is an oil product that might look, I mean, this is not oil really, but it might look like this oil product, like this, or like this. So different oil products that can be then used as ingredients to make something else. So this might be used to make diesel or gasoline, or maybe be put in a cracker to make more plastic. So then fully recyclable. But the business model works. You take plastic waste and you turn it into revenue generating oil product. Okay? And so what makes this technology unique is that, or one thing, it's profitable. The technology is profitable because you have to make it profitable to make it, you have to make it economic. But what makes it unique is that because Aduro can handle different plastic types and can also handle some contamination, meaning some ketchup or juice, this gives it a huge competitive advantage for the cost of the plastic feedstock. This is your cost of goods sold. Every other company that can recycle some plastic, they need plastic feedstock that's very clean, sorted, no contamination. So everybody else is fighting for that clean plastic. And because Aduro can do what everybody else cannot, that plastic feedstock for Aduro is very cheap. And not only this, what do other companies do with the plastic that nobody else can handle? Well, they pay somebody else to take it. So Aduro might be able to get this feedstock not just for free, but they might actually get paid to take it. Okay? So that's on the cost of goods sold. And then when we move to the actual facility, the actual facility is designed to be modular. In other words, if you want to make it big, you just add different reactors. But because it's modular, kind of like right now there's this trend for nuclear modular reactors, SMRs. It's very similar. So other technologies have to have big, big, huge facilities, and then to not only do they have to pay a lot for the feedstock, they have to ship it from other countries because they have to feed that beast. But if you can have a modular a recycling facility, you can put it next to a manufacturing plant that makes pipes, and then they have some plastic waste. Well, they can now take that plastic waste and turn it into a revenue generating enterprise versus a cost center. So, so not, so so not only do you get this plastic feedstock cheaper or for free, or you get paid, you don't have to ship it from other country or other states. So then you also save money on this. Also, the facility itself doesn't cost a lot of capex to build it because it doesn't require a hydrogen source. So the OPEX is smaller, the capex is smaller. And then on the revenue side, their yield is better. So they had some studies that they published that on certain plastic types, they can have as much as 95% yield. So they only lose 5%. Out of 1,000 tons of this, they can get 95% of an oil product. So the yield is better. Also, their product is better than the competitors. And finally, recycled product today carries a premium. If you can create an oil product that came from waste, this can sell for more than a virgin plastic or plastic or product made from fossil fuels. So that's the basics for a fifth grader of how this technology works.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I didn't realize that modular component. It does make a lot more sense to bring the recycling to the facility rather than truck the products to the recycler. Obviously, all these types of products are petroleum byproducts. So essentially reverse engineering it back into its core ingredients there. Very interesting. Now, I took a look at the stock chart as well. It's been on a real tear recently. I know you just mentioned there are other competitors that do something like this, but it sounds like Aduro really has some unique competitive advantages. We've seen a lot of people starting to come into the name, into the stock. You talked about the fact they're not generating a ton of revenue now. What's the rollout plan or what's the launch plan to get this stuff commercialized?
So right now, they are working with about more than 10 multi-billion-dollar companies that are testing this technology. So some of the names that allowed to share their names is Shell Oil and Total Energies, both multi-billion-dollar companies that are testing this technology. And Aduro, so it started like this. When I got involved, Aduro didn't have a continuous system. So in other words, their process, their chemistry worked in a batch system. And since then, they built what they call R2, which is a very small pilot, but on a continuous basis. And now they are in the process, as we speak, assembling a pilot plant. A pilot plant is a huge catalyst because it will show to the world, because the biggest concern right now is, does the technology work and will it scale? Well, if you roll up your sleeves and you study this company, you realize that the chemistry works, undeniably works. So then will it scale? And that's where the pilot comes in. And that's what they're doing right now. So they have two paths to revenues. One path is owning their own units, the way I described it. You get feedstock, you run it through, and you create an oil product. And that's what they have to do first. They will do the pilot, and then right after the pilot, a couple days ago, there was a press release that they are already looking for sites in Europe, Mexico, or Canada for their demonstration unit for next year. Demo unit is 8,000 tons per year, and that's why it's called demo unit. But because their technology is modular, if they just increase the number of reactors, it becomes a commercial unit. But a demo unit with 8,000 tons per year would generate a minimum of $8 million per year in revenues. And because you can kind of say $1,000 per ton. It can be more, it can be 2,500, but that's just easy math. So that's one way of commercializing it and getting it generating revenues and profits. The other avenue is licensing it to the big or to small companies that are interested to build the unit on their own, and Aduro would get a licensing fee. But the reason why they're going, both ways, well, number one is if you want to license something and you want to franchise something, well, shouldn't you have your own restaurant first to show how it works, right? So they have to have their own unit to show others how the economics works. But also they want to go their independent way because the big companies are like big ships, right? They move slow, they maneuver slow, and who knows how long it will take them to go through their process and be like, we're ready to build a unit. So while they're working on both sides, the first thing that's going to come is their own demo unit, their own commercial unit. But first they need to do the pilot, and then, but probably, 5-10 years down the road, probably the CFO said that probably 90% of the revenues will come from licensing.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was going to ask about the licensing, especially when you talk about companies like Shell and the like. They obviously want a lot of that stuff in-house. Now, you've taken a large position. I think you said you own about 1% of the company on the other end of the scope. So not so much focused on the growth story, but looking out maybe 5 or 10 years. How big is this problem? I know you just threw around some numbers in terms of the total amount of plastic. It's ending up in our oceans. We've all seen the images of those plastic islands that are just terrible. If this technology works, as you say, if they get the plant or test plant out, it works as intended. The sky's kind of the limit, I would guess, at this point.
Well, anybody can do their calculation. 400 million tons of plastic is being produced per year. Plug in numbers of what kind of market share they can take. 0.5%, 1%. Assume revenues of 1,000 per ton, margins of more than 50%. The numbers become just crazy. I'm not going to do these numbers here. Everybody should do them on their own. But that's why I say figure out if you believe the technology will work. Because the moment the street finds out, or the moment it gets validated, the floodgates will open. Because right now, it's really retail that's in this name. There's no institutions yet, and there's these two arguments. Oh, the institutions are not in it because the technology is not good. Or you can say, not really, because where did this company come from? The company was founded in Canada, and it was trading on Canadian Securities Exchange. You and I know when you trade on Canadian Securities Exchange, barely anybody wants to touch you. And they kind of found themselves on the Canadian Securities Exchange by mistake or by bad luck, because they were going to get bought out by an oil company in 2020, but then COVID happened. Oil went negative, and they weren't going to get acquired. So then they kind of had to look for how can we get liquidity. They listed there. The liquidity was low. The valuation was low. No institution is going to come in and invest. Institutions need a minimum of 500 million market cap to get involved, and they also need a certain liquidity. So right now, the market cap is 500 million or so. This is the first time that institutions can start sniffing around. But if you look around and run some numbers, there's people that made videos and wrote articles about what the possible valuation could be what the possible stock prices could be, and it's crazy. So I even made a hat. This hat, Aduro 758. That's a stock price. And by the way, today the stock prices are around 17. So where did this come from? I didn't come up with this number. An independent investor with no influence from me ran the numbers and assumed that if there were 75 units, in other words, if Aduro owned 75 units and he ran the numbers and assumed certain multiple, that the stock price would reach $758. And now you tell me, if this is such a big problem, do you think we can solve it with 75 units?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So the point is that the upside is absolutely massive. And I tell people, study the technology, figure out if it's going to scale. That's it. Because once you figure this out, this price is cheap. And also, what people should care about, I think, outside of this, is that Aduro is a cultable stock, like Tesla. It's a cultable stock. You have no idea how many people are buying Aduro heads, Aduro everything. Uh, once they learn the story, they just fall in love. They just fall in love, and then you look at now all the social media. It's just exploding, uh, and and this is relatively new because they just uplisted to Nasdaq less than a year ago, November of 2024. Because before that, you would have an easier time pulling somebody's tooth than to convince them to buy the stock of Aduro. Back then, when it was trading, um, in Canada and OTC, and also the brokers. The brokers didn't want to let you buy the stock. So it wasn't until the November of 2024 that, and then it took some time for all this uplisting to circulate through the brokerages, and then allow people to go on margin, and then the option chain opened up, right? It took some time. It only now you can like easily buy them on any platform, and but the point is that the stock is cultible, and I have never seen a bear that has done the proper due diligence and visited the company. Never, because once they study this company, once they visit the company, once they talk to the management, they want to get married.
Yeah, it's great what can happen there when you start looking into the details, and it's nice to see they let people actually come and look at the technology in the plant. Now, you're totally right. I love how simple you put it. Does the technology work? Is it scalable? I've heard a ton of stories, a lot of promises about these type of recycling companies, but it always breaks down in either the technology isn't quite there or it only can be done in labs and it's not really scalable. So I think you're definitely onto something here. If people are wanting to get more information, they want to watch some of the videos, learn a bit more about Aduro. I know you've got multiple channels. Where's the best spot for people to go if they want to maybe touch up on some of these videos?
I would say just go to YouTube and just type in my name, Mariusz Konieczny. You will find my personal channel, and on that channel, I made 140 videos on Aduro. It's a separate playlist, and just do your due diligence. And just my final thought that I want to leave you with, as I said at the beginning, does the technology work? Does it scale? I urge you to go to LinkedIn and find a post from Aduro with the pictures that Aduro is standing with Total Energies executives. One, the head of the research department, left a comment under the post saying, "We are looking forward to commercializing this technology with Aduro." So let that sink in. Do you think the technology works? Do you think it will scale?
Yeah,
That's all I have to
phenomenal.
say.
No, I appreciate the time today, Mariusz. This is great. We always like new stocks to get on the radar. And as you say, it really does look like the timing here, both from a listing perspective, from the commercialization, from the testing, it seems to all be coming together. So I'll give you a chance to close out if there's anything that we maybe forgot. But this was a great insight here.
No, just, if you listen to this interview, don't go out and buy the stock. Do your due diligence. Study it. You need to know what you own. And also, more and more people are finding about this stock every day, which means there's going to be the volatility. Just, prepare yourself for it. Don't go crazy. Don't go all in. If you buy today, if you decide to buy today and it pulls back, just be ready for it. It's going to be volatile. So, size yourself accordingly.
Yeah, great point there. And the more due diligence you do, the better you understand the company, the easier it is to really wait out those periods of volatility. So great advice, great company. Thanks so much for coming on the channel. We've got your socials linked below. You guys go take a look. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of Aduro Clean Tech. Hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. We'll see you back here later on.